you realize Cash App will not be giving away that $5 forever. So if you want $5 while supporting this podcast, hurry up and try Cash App. I did. I linked a debit card, sent at least $5 via Cash App. Then $5 was instantly added to my Cash App account. And I love using my Cash App Visa to save 10% at Lyft, Starbucks, and other select purchases. Hey, use my code WKXRVBX and support me and earn $5 with Cash App, available in your app store. Well, it's starting to look a lot like time to start the podcast. You're nobody till somebody loves you. Spreading the news like mayonnaise on toast. The policy of truth. Gary, I have a mission for you. Eastbound and down, loading up and truck 'em. Flux capacitor? Okay. But let me tell you about that time I drove a cab. Money that's something, chicks that read. I want my Mark TV. First, you're not on TV. Podcast? Now, that is some weird and wild stuff. Did you know that, Ed? Yes! Oh, please don't drop me home, because it's not my home, it's their home, and I'm welcome no more. Well, Robin attended Juilliard. I attended Hillsdale. I'm a graduate of the San Francisco Comedy College. I've traveled the Midwest quite extensively. I lived through The Big Short and I had a pretty good time doing that. I've seen Pat Robertson jabber about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. Not to mention the fact you're talking to a subversive. So what do you think? Do you think I'm qualified?
Oh, well, I think we'll need to pray about that and ask your father.
Shut up, Marilyn! Just eat it. Just eat it. The Mark Roman Empire. Also, a podcast. It's showtime. You can be me. And I do photos for tips. We can be heroes just for one day. That was my Markioki of Heroes by David Bowie. Slightly rebel, and very abbreviated because, oh my God, I think I'm losing my voice, guys. Can you hear that? Or I'm going through puberty for the 27th time. I don't know. I could go either way on this one. David Bowie, whose star is a block away from Stan Lee's. Now, it, of course, is Stan's turn to have flowers, tributes, and memories. As Hollywood Cap, Stan Lee is kind of a grandpa that I never met and never really came to appreciate until this past year being Hollywood Cap. Performing as Captain America has given me new insight into what it means to be a hero to children of all ages from all over the globe. More on that and the sad but certainly not tragic passing of Stan Lee in a moment. Jason Thompson is on the podcast today. He's a fellow busker with a treasure trove of celebrity impersonation as well as original characters. This guy is a walking improv machine, but with more groovy and grace. He's a truly phenomenal and one of my favorite people. He also acts and sings and believes we can all make the world a better place. My kind of guy. Oh, hi there. I'm Mark Roman. Mark who? Mark Roman. You know, like the Empire. We'll chat with my friend and fellow improv impresario, Jason Shirley. Hey, we are at the World Famous Musicians Institute here in Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard, carefully nestled between a Tom Cruise Scientology hostel and a golden fast food fort on your way to the Ripley's Believe It or Not tourist trap. We are safely within stumbling distance of the legendary Pig and Whistle, as well as Jameson's Irish Pub, where everyone knows Lieutenant Frank's name. Ollie, Churchill's not quite twisted sister, takes his proper place at the soundboard. Hey, how many shopping days until Boxing Day, Ollie? I mean, you can just ask Prince Harry. Or would it not be proper? I'm just asking. I don't know. Now, last week we talked about Kate Willett, and I promised a Kate page. There is no Kate page. She seemed to prefer less details and or publicity for the moment from a recent Facebook post. So until I can talk to her, I'm mindful of some of the nastiness that's been going on out there with women who have been in the public eye and spoken up. I want to be vague because I want to help, not hurt. So we'll lead with that, which is good because there's a lot of energy anyways that I'm directing towards. We could be heroes if for one day. That's right, hero tier, kids. Last week, I dusted off my hero tier word and idea and shared it for the first time on the podcast. Rooted in my own struggles with homelessness, my desire to inspire hero tiers became more urgent 3 years ago upon my return to Los Angeles. Homeless myself, walking the streets of LA, I couldn't help but notice all the brand new, shiny, luxury apartment towers that sprouted out of vacant lots seemingly overnight. Luxury towers full of vacant units, like large dicks, impatiently awaiting servicing in the Southern California sun. They cast their shadows upon not just a handful of homeless, but over the new normal of homeless tent cities. Tent cities that grow like a Fortune 500 company's acceptable profits. I overcame my homelessness 3 years ago, thanks to the generosity of people like Randa Tyler, a real estate professional not in California, but in Georgia, the wife and partner of a childhood classmate and fellow Eagle Scout of mine, Flint Tyler. So Flint and Randa helped me out, and it's in part due to them I'm no longer homeless. A star of the high school football games I never attended, David Elliott, with whom my Lieutenant Frank just, quote, spread the news, hashtag spread the news, at a Rams football tailgate this past weekend. Dave had the generosity and presence of mind this past weekend to hand me the donation of a nice bill, quite visibly. I waved it off and assured him, hey, friends and family, you've done enough. He whispers into my ear, it's for everyone else to see. Dave brought me into his home 3 years ago when I returned from Vegas to Hollywood homeless. Great guy. Thanks to Dave, I'm no longer homeless. My current roommate, who I found through my post seeking a room on Craigslist, I moved to where I currently live within days of staying with Dave. If it wasn't for the current living situation I found quite by chance, I can't say with certainty I'd still be around. Blame it on me. Blame it on my depression. Blame it on the multiple PTSDs I deal with. Blame it on my stubborn refusal to sell insurance in Des Moines or Ann Arbor. Just don't blame it on all the real estate professionals who spent over $100 million to defeat the rent control measure, Proposition 10. Now, I'm still digging myself out of poverty since The Big Short. I don't seek fame or fortune. I just seek to laugh and smile and survive and to help others do the same. I find the best way I can do that is through entertainment. I'm finding my own path. Some inspire me. Many people disappoint with their greed, their bad advice, their crooked intentions. Hey, I got good grades. The good degree, though, I was denied. I took free expression at an American college a little too seriously. I succumbed to the desires of greedy sales managers offering the good job. I hated myself for taking those good jobs, quote unquote. Because of that, The Big Short was liberation for me. Entertaining people is not a choice for me. It's what I do. And in Hollywood, people notice. Ollie noticed. I should have a podcast. That's what he thought. He kept bugging me about it. I also realized this podcast was the next step in my performance of my art, doing so on my terms. And also to build my empire. Yeah. Because to be an artist or a decent human being, or both, in America, you absolutely fucking must build an empire or be crushed. I've discovered this through bitter experience, not just for myself, but for others. Right now, Venka is my focus to hero tier. That will end when we raise Venka's $20,000 GoFundMe goal, and she is self-sufficient to my satisfaction. Then the hero tier focus will move to the next person. Someone probably down here in the City of Angels. But Venka's ignored Facebook post caught my attention first. And now, as I attempt to advocate on her behalf, it's wild what I remember from when I was advocating on my own behalf when I was homeless. America is not a kind culture, but there are kind people in America. I'm looking for more of those kind people to build my empire. We started helping Venka on the 5th of November. I've given a grand total of $15 myself. I really wish I could give more, but I should probably pay my psych after dues. I should probably also keep recording this podcast each week. That takes money. Perhaps attend to some routine health care for me. Maybe take a vacation or a few days off, like people do. I gave $15. I'm looking for others to give a third of that, $5. Donate $5 or more to Venka's GoFundMe, and you'll make the Venka Hero Tier honor roll. So far, 5 Mark Roman Empire, also a podcast, guests have made that honor roll. So have 4 buskers. So have 5 SAG-AFTRA actors, 3 former mortgage industry folks, 1 Lieutenant Frank fan, a UCLA fan, I might note, 1 attorney, 1 real estate agent. And that's where we're at. And since the, let's see here, on the 4th of November, Venka's GoFundMe, which had been at that point up for a month, had received $440 by 5 people. And I was 2.2% of her goal. And now today that we're up from 440 up to 840. So an additional $400 since basically about 10 days ago. So now that's 4.2% of the goal. So almost doubled it. In that time, Venka began living in her car because her current living situation where she was there for a promised 2 months turned into 5. And it sounded like it was getting a little toxic there. So now she's in her car. Sometimes she's able to get emergency shelter in a chapel, but there's a lot of hoops she's got to jump through to do that. And in her current mental and physical state, that's a challenge every day. She did get the flat and bald tires that is now her home on her sedan replaced. That was back on the 9th. And the fundraising so far, it's really helped. And I can tell it's lifted her spirits, but a lot more is needed. And there's a lot of ways you can help. It's not just giving $5. There's phone calls you can make. There are people in her area that could probably help out, have more resources than you or I combined. So there are ways that you can reach out without spending a dime that would really help Venka. I'm also looking for people that, can do what I'm doing, reaching out to her every day and just seeing how she's doing. I'd like those to be cool people because I know what was going through my head when I was in that time. There's a lot of stuff you really should not say because it's not at all helpful. You think it's helpful? Trust me, it's not. So I'm going to carefully vet this. If you'd like to volunteer for that, talk to me first. I need to make sure that's the case because I'm protective of Venka. Nobody is. That kind of pisses me off. But some of you have come up and helped, and I really appreciate that. We're looking for more. We got to take care of Venka. Why? She's a human being. Okay? I know that your church has a preacher whose kid desperately wants to go to the next Hanson concert. I get that. I know that's a really urgent, flaming priority. But can we throw $5 to Venka? Is that Can we do that? Am I asking too much? All right. Let me sell some stuff here. We got to support the podcast too, all right? If we're going to keep this rolling. Hey, when's the last time you explored the podcast website, markromanempire.com? Like the podcast, I keep adding to and improving the website along the way. One page you may want to visit on the regular is the support page. Like free stuff? Want to support this podcast? Now you can do both, all at the same time. Head on over to markromanempire.com and click support. Discover free stuff from companies like Coffee Bean, Farmer Boys, Cash App, Uber, and Lyft. Healthy lists that keep growing. Are you fixing to buy something or try a new app? You don't even know how the purchase you already planned could at the same time support this podcast. Learn how. Before you buy anything, make sure your purchases count. MarkRomanEmpire.com, click support. Now you can buy stuff too, groovy products and services from all our sponsors, or my swing and swag, my poem, as well as Lieutenant Frank's citations and headshots, whether free or a good value. Take advantage of select offers while knowing you are helping me record one more podcast and helping give my body and voice a break, as well as some much needed rest. Hey, help me take a sick day or vacation weekend this year, gang. MarkRomanEmpire.com, click support. We are also sponsored by Adelaide Designs. Hey, there's got to be a better way to travel with your shoes. Now there is. The trademarked Ultimate Shoe Bag by Adelaide Designs. Travel your shoes easier. Up to 8 pairs at a time, many styles to choose. To view the commercial and demo video, go to elladondesigns.com. You can also save 10% when you use discount code ROMAN at checkout. elladondesigns.com. And finally, we are sponsored as well by Hollywood Vegas 90210, aka Vegas 90210. Because sometimes people get confused and think I'm still in Vegas. Hollywood Cap, as seen on and interviewed by KTLA Channel 5 News in Los Angeles, remembering Stan Lee on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Lieutenant Frank is hired by a California Highway Patrol lieutenant for his birthday party. Hollywood Cap, Lieutenant Frank, Beetlejuice, Ron Burgundy, more about your birthday, holiday, year-end, office, and other parties, not to mention meet and greets, grand openings, surprise deliveries, or singing telegrams. Got any characters of Vegas 90210? Book one today at Vegas90210.com. Tiger's Blood, winning. This week's Mark Roman Empire, also a podcast, Best Listener Contest winner is the 4th podcast citizen to reply with this week's Best Listener Contest passphrase to the Mark Roman Empire, also a podcast, weekly email for this week's episode, number 14, Jason Thompson. That 4th person will win an autographed Lieutenant Frank fire hydrant photo. To receive your prize, reply to the Mark Roman Empire, also a podcast, weekly email with this week's Best Listener Contest passphrase and your shipping address within the continental United States. Otherwise, you pay shipping. Must reply by December 18, 2018, and must be the 4th one to reply. Not yet a podcast citizen? Well, get on it. Join the census at markromanempire.com. Click census. Every week a winner. Who will be next week's? What prize? How to win? To ensure you don't miss out on any of the possibilities, go to markromanempire.com and click support. This week's Best Listener Contest passphrase is... Jason Thompson is a character, but which one? And because I didn't mention earlier, guys, If you want to help Venka, MarkRomanEmpire.com, click Venka. That's where you got all the updates. It's got a link to her GoFundMe on the top and the bottom. In the middle, bunch of great information, the how, the why. There's also a link to her Cash App. I got her set up on Cash App now. She's got that set up with her bank account, so she'll get that Cash App money like instantly. GoFundMe money she'll get usually within a couple days. It really makes a difference though on the GoFundMe because it improves the metrics. It shows solidarity numbers, and that gives her more visibility on the platform, which in turn means more donations from other people, hopefully with some deeper pockets as well. So MarkRomanEmpire.com, click Venka to help Venka. All right, so yes, I fucked up my voice with a bunch of tailgates this weekend, but I do that every weekend when it's football season. My voice, if in case you haven't noticed, it's kind of fucked up. I'm drinking some kind of tepidly warm honey lemon water here. I'm plowing through this because you know what they say, the show must go on. And I don't have sick pay or vacation pay, so I just have to have enough gigs or sell enough swag so that there's enough money in the bank account to do that. So I'm not trying to play a violin. I'm just sharing this. I'm being real with you. This is the life of a working artist. So it's also, I don't know what it is, every time, this time of year, it's always November. It's always within like a week or so of my birthday. Yeah, my birthday is next week. So when this podcast drops, this is the last podcast before my birthday. I'm not even going to talk about how old I am, because that's not the point. The point is that I'm probably going to get sick again. I'm going to get a cold. So I can already feel it coming. I can feel my energy is not quite at 100. I'm doing all these different things. I got a bunch of fucking garlic at the store yesterday. I'm making soups. I'm drinking a lot. It's a liquid. I'm trying to get as much rest as I can. I'm doing all the stuff. I know that I'm not going to be 100% here for the next week. And it's that time of year. So, and of course, my birthday, the 24th, it's not one, it's 2 tailgates. So I will be working my ass off that whole day. At the end of that day, my birthday, I'm probably going to have absolutely no voice whatsoever. And it might even be raining that weekend. Who knows? But we can need the rain, and hope everyone is surviving those fires. Everyone that I'm aware of has escaped. But I know there's folks who haven't or have lost their homes, lost everything. It's really upsetting. It's also upsetting that we don't take climate change seriously. And it's also upsetting that apparently PG&E might have their fingerprints on this. Who do we know that has a history of dealing with PG&E that might actually be able to advocate for all of us? Aaron Brockovich, maybe? Are you listening, Gavin Newsom? Just saying. All right. I got to talk to you guys about this angry guy. You know, I've been running into angry guys. Not ladies. Guys. It's always guys. Angry guys since the election. I don't know what it's about. I'm doing a Captain America with my buddy Ross Michael Johnson from episode 3, Hollywood Wolverine. We're busking in front of the Dolby Theater, which happens to be in the vicinity of Whoopi Goldberg's star. Love Whoopi. First of all, she started out as a comic, so I feel like we're part of the same tribe. Same way I feel about Ellen. And now, Whoopi's one of the big guns on The View, and I've been watching more and more of The View and Ellen, because as a guy, a white guy, it's occurring to me that maybe I don't have all the answers, and that maybe I need to listen to women more. I don't know. I'm that weird guy. So I've been doing that. So love Whoopi on all kinds of levels. What she's done as a comic, what she's done as an actor, what she did for charitable causes. She was with Robin and what's his name? The City Slickers guy. They did comic relief together, which is fantastic. And now Whoopi is, I don't know, I feel like she's doing some really awesome heavy lifting on The View. So I really appreciate that. So that's to give you some context. Wolverine and I are doing our things. We're looking for new Avengers to get awesome photos for tips on the boulevard as working actors sag after buskers. And this dude strolls up with a hat, the cargo shorts, the shower slippers, the attitude. You got a sense of his demographic. You kind of have a sense of who he might have voted for, too. I don't know why. And then he looks down at Whoopi Goldberg's star, which is literally like right in front of me. And he goes, and this dude's like seething. He looks like he's about to start a bar fight. You can just feel the tension rolling off this dude. He's like fucking angry. It's like he's almost vibrating. He goes, I fucking wish someone takes a sledgehammer to Whoopi Goldberg's star. And then he like looks over at me and Wolverine like expecting to get validation. And because we've dealt with Hollywood Boulevard forever and how LAPD in the city has effectively abandoned it because they're butthurt that when they sued buskers for exercising their First Amendment rights, the buskers turned around, sued them, and won a hefty settlement. So yeah, ever since that a few years ago, the city's pretty much abandoned their policing duties on the boulevard. And they're grateful that every time there's a red carpet, it looks like there's a police presence when in fact, all those LAPD in uniforms are simply hired guns. They're hired security guards effectively for whatever production is doing the red carpet. This week, it's the AFI, which is a wonderful organization. And I would love to be going to all those screenings. My roommate he's a director. He's like all he's been doing lately. I'm a working actor busker, so I'm like making this podcast and making people laugh and making little kids' faces light up because they got their photo with Captain America. So that's what I'm doing, but I'd love to be going screening a bunch of films at the AFI Film Festival. I'd love to be wearing a tux on the red carpet. I would love to do that. Someday I will. So anyway, this fucking angry guy, angry about Whoopi's star, she's... Oh my God, why is that guy angry? And why are there so many angry guys like that out there? Anyway, guys, my throat is just dying here. I got to tell you, I was going to tell you about Talkify. I'm going to do that next week. I gave them 3 chances. They're a date matching service. Oh boy, I got a lot to talk to you about Talkify, but I'm going to have to do that next week. Let's just say that your money is better sent elsewhere, and I'm not elsewhere. But I'll talk to you about why I'm a better alternative to Talkify about matchmaking, and I know nothing about matchmaking. I'll tell you about that next week. I was on KTLA Channel 5. KTLA is like, I think, the oldest local news station in Los Angeles. Anyway, Wolverine and I were trying to do a gig on Veterans Day. Turned out what we thought would be on Monday had already happened on Sunday. We're coming back, and that's when I got the text alert or the news flash that Stan Lee had died. And we're still driving back to Hollywood, and it dawns on us like, all right, well, every time a celebrity dies, people flock to their star on the Walk of Fame. And we thought Wolverine and Hollywood Wolverine and Hollywood Cap, they need to show up. So we did. And because the other characters that were there were more interested in stealing money from people and practicing aggressive solicitation and demanding specific amounts, large amounts from people, instead of like giving wonderful experiences, letting families tip whatever they want and feeling safe in Hollywood, we were the only 2 people at the Star because it's kind of off the main drag. It's just past Buffalo Wild Wings. And KTLA 5 was there, a couple other news stations there, and they interviewed us. So I'll have a link in the show notes. Really happy with what KTLA included. I got a lot of coverage there. There's some stuff I said that they didn't include, but that's okay. And I kind of knew that, but what they did include, I thought was awesome. Check it out. A lot of people are liking that. And hey, that's great. Also, I think my IMDb just shot up a million points. I don't know why. The star meter. I don't think there's any connection because I think that happens every Sunday, maybe early Monday morning. And the KTLA thing, that didn't even air until later in the day on Monday. But I don't know. Apparently, Mark Roman actor is on a lot of people's minds. We'll see what happens with that. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. And I'm happy to be in my hometown of Los Angeles. I wasn't born here. I didn't grow up here. but I've never felt more at home. And thanks KTLA 5 for showing buskers in a good light. That's kind of a rare thing for news organizations to do. More needs to be done in that regard, and I appreciate what KTLA 5 did. Fan mail. You can write the podcast at romanpodmail@gmail.com. Perhaps you can be the first. I mean, we're up to what, 14 now? No, that's cool. I mean, people still write me, just not at romanpodmail@gmail.com. What they'll do is they'll tell me on YouTube that they hate my podcast, that listening to even the first few seconds is pure torture, so they can't even. But they can even, because they keep coming back for more. I know this because they post the gory details again about how they hate my podcast, that listening to even the first few seconds is pure torture, so they can't even. I know I'm making a mixed metaphor smoothie here, but how many times can you hoist your martyrdom on your own petard? I just want to know. Where can you see me next? Drop in the Twitter and the Instagram. You know what it is. You can go see all my posts in the past week there. So don't need to go into that anymore. But you can see me next as Lieutenant Frank at football tailgates, as I previously mentioned, the 24th of November, Saturday. We got UCLA versus Stanford. It's a big California North-South rivalry. And we got USC versus Washington State. We'll probably have a bunch of people that drove down from Washington for the holiday weekend. And on the 25th, Chargers versus Cardinals. That's going to be a power-packed Thanksgiving holiday football weekend. It's going to be crazy. And if you like me as a character at the tailgate, don't forget to tip your busker generously. Thank you. You can also see Hollywood Cap on Hollywood Boulevard, as seen on KTLA Channel 5 Los Angeles, with the Hollywood Avengers, Hollywood Iron Man, Hollywood Spidey, and Hollywood Wolverine, also as seen on KTLA Channel 5 Los Angeles, and also guest number 3 on the podcast, Ross Michael Johnson. You can listen to the podcast on Mixcloud, Podbean, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube, where it's Mark Roman Empire. On SoundCloud, it's Mark Roman Podcast. MarkRomanEmpire.com has all the links, plus rolling new grooviness. My interview guest today is Jason Thompson. No, not one of the twins from that 80s group or the Tintin comics, but he is from the land down under, which the British still like to claim in their own passive-aggressive yet martyred sort of way. Jason and I are both buskers and improv performers in the various colonies. You know, I hear Jason can connect us with the Queen. Did you know that? Let's find out. Jason Thompson.
Hello.
Not one of the twins from that 80s group, and not one of the detectives with the fabulous mustaches, hats, and canes in the Tintin comics. Did they have Tintin down in Australia?
Oh, yeah, of course. I looked like a little Tintin when I was a kid. Like Dennis the Menace also.
Really?
I had that kind of vibe because I'm a Ginga.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Now, we'll get to Australia in a minute, but I always like to start out with how my guest and I first met. And I don't remember the exact day, but I imagine it was we were both busking as various characters on Hollywood Boulevard. Is that what you recall?
Yes, probably workshopping something. Yes.
Okay.
I think that's where I met you. Yeah. You would,
All right.
yeah, you came out as your 902 character.
Lieutenant Frank.
Yes, with your little hot pants. And I thought, there's a gay guy out here.
I get that a lot.
Well, you do wear the rainbow fluffy boots.
Rainbow tactical leg warmers and women's short shorts. Yeah,
Well, that makes people think
reasonable assumption for a lot of people to.
There is a code out there, you know, like, here I am.
Right.
I got all the colors of the rainbow inside my heart. Whee! Hands up those who love me!
Yeah, but you can be, you can celebrate what other people
Look, it's
enjoy,
the prism of the colors.
even if it's not your, you know, what you would choose at the the buffet table.
Well, the rainbow is the rainbow colors, like, it's just the prism. Isn't
Yeah.
It's like pink is for.
Why can't straight guys be part of the rainbow? Why do they have to be outside?
Why do we have all this colored? It's like pink is for girls and blue is for boys. I mean, what did pink do to you?
Yeah, right.
Like, why can't a guy wear pink? My day it was like you could wear pink at all. You'd be
Donald Trump's worn pink.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But years ago, if you wore pink, you were like, well, you want to, you're a homosexual.
Miami Vice. I mean, anyone in Miami pretty much wears.
But, what's pink got to do with girl and blue got to boy? The sky's blue.
Right.
What is it?
Exactly.
Why can't it be green?
Maybe
why
the
can't it be
sky.
yellow? We're the rainbow, like.
Right.
See how tight that
Yeah,
is?
what's the sexual orientation of the sky? That's a fascinating question.
Well, that's right. And a flower.
Spend hours or days.
But why did we all say we just put boys into blue? Like, look, it's all these labels like black and white even. When I first came here, I think, what do I call the African American people, which is what I prefer. But
yeah,
a lot of them are not like that now because there's been lots of blends. But the origin is from there. But I didn't like the idea when it was called. People here call people black and white. Because again, you're putting two people. I'm not white actually. If you put me next to a white piece of paper, I'm like oatmeal or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when you put a piece of a black card against a so-called black person, they're beautiful coffee chocolate brown or something, mocha cafe latte or whatever. Go to the paint store and find out what you are. But I might change later on in the season because I'm going to go sunbaking.
Right.
So I can't get all that either. Like honestly, I mean, I still feel I don't like calling people black people because that's not what they really are. I'm not white either. So why do we put all of humanity into two boxes? And that's just so silly. If you really want to know what you are, like your DNA, go to the paint store. Find out what you are. Go and put your hand against the car. Oh, there I am. I'm 9565 Mocho chocolate brown or something. Or I'm oatmeal or I'm cornflake.
I guess as a white guy, I'm hesitant to make decisions about other people. That have to deal with that experience their entire life and they didn't choose it. Just like I didn't choose, what I happen to look like.
You look like a lumbersexual.
A what? I think that we've just carved out a new one in the rainbow.
Google it. You don't believe everything Google. I need these two first pages.
Okay, well, bring me to school here. Jason, what's a
lumbersexual? A lumbersexual is someone who is...
Spell that.
Lumber, like a lumberjack. With the
lumbersexual, okay.
The flannel shirt and the beard.
Suddenly, I'm thinking, was it Michael Palin in that?
No, it's like the metrosexual.
I'm a lumberjack, and
there's
I'm
metrosexual, homosexual, heterosexual.
Sapiosexual.
Now there's lumbersexual. Anyway, it's all silly because, like I'm saying, all like the black and white, pink and blue, and it's all rainbow.
Yeah, it's labels.
I want to wear all the colors, those stuff. Yeah,
it's a way to divide people, and that's a great way for folks who like to control others to.
Just be yourself. That's beyourself.com.
What's wrong with that?
Look it up and there you are. I mean, at the end of the day.
Speaking of being yourself started, as I understand from the internets, in Adelaide, in not just any Australia, but South Australia.
That's where the wine
South Australia, is it provinces or states?
It's states. South Australia is like California, say. And,
okay.
And, Nevada's like, Victoria, which is where Melbourne is. So Victoria's the state and Melbourne's the biggest city in that state.
Okay.
Just as you've got San Diego's a bit smaller than San Francisco.
So where does Adelaide?
Well, Adelaide's right at the bottom, so that's why it's the South Pole. So we got no land from the South Pole to us. So it's like the fresh air out of the crisp fridge. It's like it's very good air down there.
So it's kind of like Canada, maybe a little.
The produce, we say produce. You say produce. Our produce is so.
I say produce.
You say produce. That's right.
How do you say it?
We say produce.
Produce.
Potato.
Yeah. Somehow it sounds
tomato, all that. Again, that's going into these little label things. Like, who cares? People get stuck on all these semantics, don't they? Oh, God. It's like religions, I can't handle that. There's all these people all fighting over each other. I go, honey, if you want to even look at religions, it's like, say it's like H2O, right? The great spirit, the force be with you, and whatever you want to call it, right? There is some kind of thing, but everybody wants to sort of try and put it into these little boxes and they're all got all these semantics and killing each other. And it's like saying it's all H2O, this energy. Say it's H2O. And everybody's arguing, it's Vasta, it's aqua, no, it's water, it's hydra, I'll kill you. And they're all like, they're killing each other over the word. But guys, it's all H2O scientifically, but you can call it aqua, hydra. I mean, that African country probably going,
ice.
for water. You know that people they click.
Yeah.
They probably call water or something. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who knows?
But it's all H2O. But why kill each other? And again, it's all semantics, isn't it? I don't know what we're talking about all this. What are we going to?
We're talking about South Australia and
I know,
Adelaide and you growing up.
Yeah. Anyway.
Speaking of religion, well, you started singing very early.
Yeah.
And one of the places you were singing at, as I understand it, was in the church choir. It's like what?
Well, I was brought up a Catholic and one of those Christian brothers with the white collars, and I got strapped all the time. And
I converted to Catholicism.
all that
as an
horrible
adult.
stuff.
Yeah, I'm technically still Catholic.
That's
Apparently,
why I'm
you
not
can't.
into organized religions
You can't
anymore.
quit that club, is what I've discovered.
I did. I got excommunicated. Well, I just told them and left and said they're all hypocrites. And never
See,
went.
that's the thing. Like you in your mind can make a decision, but they, in their minds, they have their ledger at that particular, parish. And they're like, no, you're still on our books.
Well, that's it. So I mean,
It's like the mafia or something.
it is.
You know?
I mean, Catholicism is. A lot of the Christian brothers in my school got done for touching up kids, and I got they're certainly physically hit and dragged by the hair and yard rolled behind the knees.
Catholic. That sounds
And they
like
made
you did
special
go to
little
a Catholic
devices
school.
like little leather straps. So they'd go and obviously get made from a leathersmith and do your hair.
Wow.
I'd get it all the time. I just because I was always inquisitive and like, what, what do I know now? I'm sorry. It's like I wouldn't tell you a lie because I'm a free spirit. They can't put me in that box. So.
We'll get a little Socrates in you,
Well, I embrace that now.
At least he got hemlock, so at least he didn't get the hemlock yet. So.
Yeah, so South Australia, and I was brought up there. And it was the little Sicily on the hill they called my college, because a lot of Italians went there because in the early days they bought all the land, and then they got subdivided because they would be market gardeners. All these early
the
Italians.
Eastern part or the western part of southern Australia?
Well, a lot of South Australia's got farming and all that. But just saying, South Australia's not at the bottom of Australia.
But on the east side or the west side?
Probably the east
central?
side more, and up north, because they have a lot of the wineries there. Because Adelaide makes fantastic wine. Adelaide's actually internationally renowned for their wines.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Now I feel like I need to add something to my bucket list.
Look at South Australian, Google South Australian wines. One I recommend.
What's your favorite wine to drink?
Was Amadio wines. They actually pronounce it Amadio, which is the original Italian, but English people would say Amadio. They've got streets named after them in Adelaide. And they were builders. My father was a builder too. I come from a background of 4 kids, 3 boys and 1 girl at the end. And
is you or your father?
My dad was a builder, yeah. So, but anyway, he was a builder because he knew other builders were Italians, the concreters with the little knots and hankies and all the tilers. So I was brought up with, building.
Do you have any Italian in you?
Workers, like the working class tradesmen, and my dad being a builder, he'd build sometimes 300 homes a year, and he was the president of the housing.
Did he have an Italian in him, or?
No Italian. Us, we're Irish descendant and English. So, but yeah,
I can see that.
Yes, but anyway, I went to school there and I sang in the choir, and I was, got $2, for singing. That was my gig. My first gigs is you'd sing in the choir. And
awesome. How old were you when you got your first $2?
I think I was about I was in grade 5. I think it was grade 5. I don't know. That's probably 10 years of age or something. But yeah, I'll be able the little choir up the little angel up on the balcony, because we'd have these little churches by the little chapel, and we'd be Ave Maria, with all these little angels with little white frilly collars in the men, but we were little shits, all of us.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
We weren't sort of into the football and all the you got to play. We were more the thinkers and the artists and musicians, and that's why I started off singing in the choir. Got $2. I think
in America, it'd be called the drama club clique.
But then or
the theater crowd.
Then I got all partied out, and my parents are strict Catholics. They get in the car every day and go to the church and pray
every day for
me and the kids. So
that's hardcore.
I know, but I'm not into organised religions, though. I believe in a divine force, and the force. I come from Australia, as you know, and we have black Aboriginals, and they call it the Great Spirit, and they're the oldest people on the planet, apparently. And, the Native Americans here in your country, they call it the Great Spirit. So I believe in, the force be with you. I believe in the whole omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent of the universe.
Right.
But to have one dude at the top of the thing saying, hi, I'm the, the Bill Gates of the universe, and,
Right, exactly.
It's
just a guy
I'm the Donald Trump of the universe.
Yeah, right? Pretty much. Pretty much.
Anyway, but I believe that, I believe in Jesus exists, and I believe all these messages have come like Jesus, like John Lennon saying, all you need is love, and, give peace a chance. And Martin Luther King, and
You ever see the film Life of Brian, Monty Python?
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I kind of feel like that's the. Well, I feel like Jesus may have been more Brian, even though in the movie you have Brian and Jesus.
Well, he was cool. I mean, he didn't go into these big buildings and they spend all this money, little hypocrites. He'd be in the park. He'd be like Anthony Robbins or something. You're giving people self-empowerment, like the Wizard of Oz story. At the end they realize, I already had the courage, already had the brain. It was within, but they go, we'll go to the wizard. He'll give it to us.
Yeah.
But it's like, speak, and it's all, it was all scared out with the fear.
I just kind of wondered,
it's the same kind of shit.
Given our close proximity to the knowledge of the Beatles and John Lennon especially, what difference there would be between our perception of John Lennon and the Beatles versus a few centuries from now with a few language translations and maybe technological, because that's, when Jesus allegedly was around, he was speaking, I believe, in Aramaic. Mm-hmm. And then that gets translated into Latin, and then you translate from the Latin. Maybe you're lucky if you get translations from the Aramaic, but it's like, what gets lost in that? A. B, it's not the guy himself, it's all these other people with their ideas of what they heard from someone that passed it down oral.
Well, it's the
as a
stories.
translation.
They only found the Dead Sea Scrolls recently, and it was like...
what else are they going to find? You know what I mean?
Some of them were sold off and they're missing, and apparently there's other books and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but it was never the book of Jesus. It's all all these journalists that was saying Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They're journalists, saying...
That's a good way to put it.
They're saying like different magazines. Say you're writing for four different newspapers, and you're writing about the World Trade Center or something, but they were doing the same thing, same story. I believe it existed. I believe it was also some kind of extraterrestrial. We've all been DNA upgrade because there was some kind of virgin birth, So But I think there was other extra ancient aliens that have come past and have got the same consciousnesses, this kind of frequency. But all the organized religion is not. The reason I left these, because I was a gospel singer, I'd sing in front of thousands of people. I'd made 2 albums, and I'd be fully right into it.
It's a great way to start as a singer. I mean, a lot of phenomenal singers.
Well, I got a lot of my fears because being an entertainer, everybody has fears. Oh my God, if I'm going to make a mistake, they're going to laugh at me and all that. But you'd have to work on it. I mean, I'd be watching myself, but it was a great example every day, every Sunday. Sometimes I'd be this worship leader and get everybody all singing all together in the symphony, oh, we love you, God, we love you, God. But I left all that, and now I'm dressed up in drag, and now I dress up in crazy characters like, I do Austin Powers, the Queen of England, Dame Edna. I do an Indian character, Mr. Vindaloo, but he's my original character, and another original character is Shirley Shagwell. But this is probably going so fast for these people listening at home and going, who the hell is this guy?
Well, the wonderful thing about the podcast, as opposed to like radio, and I know this might upset Harry Shearer, but with love and respect, Harry,
you can edit it.
You can press pause, and then you can go back and you can re-listen. You can do that more than once.
I know. Well, you can get a good story.
When you got a live broadcast, you can't do that. But with a podcast, you can go, oh, I got to go do this now, and then you pick a right.
Yeah, well, you can get more mojo coming out of the conversation sometimes because it's not it's a little bit more of a relaxed in some ways.
I think people listening to this are thinking, who is this guy? And it would arouse some curiosity where they want to go to your website, which will have links in the post for the podcast, and
that'll be good.
Play some of the YouTube, some of the video clips, because you have all these wonderful characters. And what was occurring to me with what you're talking about earlier, singing in the choir, did you find that that it was less of a choice and more of just that's what felt right to you to do?
I've always been a singer, and I'd sing in the shower all the time, and my parents would be, they knew. And I've also been a bit of an oracle, not to be conceited, but I was a weird kid when I was a kid. I'd spent my pocket money on elocution lessons with Mrs. Winifred Whittle.
On what?
Elocution lessons.
Elocution.
To eloquent. It's an actual...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
A lot of people have speech impediments and they need elocution because they can't pronounce the word. So I had to put a cork in my mouth. Not that I had a speech impediment, but as a kid, I knew that I was a storyteller. So I knew that if you had a good voice... I was always listening to James Bond.
I think people listening right now are struggling
James Bond,
with that idea.
All these, when I would study...
storyteller.
I'd study, really well-spoken people that would be clear and precise, and you tell a story. So I became interested in the voice, and then I was privileged. I had 2 years of private singing lessons, and then I had voice production.
Nice.
I did a school of radio, all that. Right now, the celebrations continue. Not only the new Campbelltown store, but all 6 Focus video stores. I used to do all those video stores. That shows you how long ago that was. Anyway.
It was a thing at the time.
but
we're grateful for it, because if we didn't have Blockbuster, where would Captain Marvel land?
Yeah. Well, going back to Adelaide, being in a small town, I had to do a whole lot of different things like voiceovers, have a band, and do some acting. And as an all-round entertainer, I got to develop that, and I was singing when I was in the gospel thing. But then I moved from there and went to Sydney. I lived there for 10 years, but I left there in 2010 and came here because I won the green card lottery. So it's been an interesting journey, but I decided, so I left all that.
Before we get to America, I want to touch on a couple things here, because you did some cool stuff in Australia. You're a rather known gospel singer in your 20s in Australia, weren't you?
Yeah. Well,
tell us a little bit about that.
Well, because I had I was brought up a Catholic, but I rebelled against all that and went partied and smoked dope and, got all drunk and all that. But because my parents...
You're like a preacher's kid.
Well, my parents were we'd go to Sunday school as well as normal school,
Sure.
on Sunday, but, it was all pumped into me. But I've also had I'm curious about how the universe works, like the old song, "What's it all about, Alfie?" I'm like, "Oh, is it under here?" And you're turning stone. Sometimes you get your fingers burnt, and I think you understand what I'm talking about, because I know one when I look at one.
Yeah.
You get yourself into trouble. What is he doing now?
I definitely did.
Get down from there. But anyway, it's sort of, I just got into gospel singing because I was in the church, and then because I was always singing in the shower and singing, I became
sure.
And then I did 2 albums. One was I had the backing of London Philharmonical Orchestra, and
nice.
It was just. I don't talk about that much though these days, because it's sort of.
Why?
Because I don't believe in the whole institution of these organized religions and
sure.
the buildings and my circle of friends, my church, and they're coming in and out of my inner core of my circle. Some people come into your life for a long time, short time, lifetime, but that's my church, and when you come together in one accord, it's like a symphony orchestra, bass, singer, guitar, drums. But
it was a venue for you.
It's a symphony.
It's where your singing had an opportunity to develop.
Yeah, well, it helped me.
As you grew as a person, you started making choices about, having more control of your life and less.
Yeah, and I got to overcome your fears, and it was an opportunity, like I was saying earlier, that, it was an opportunity to work on that and, overcome, because we all have fears, and, my heart would be racing, and then I'd be like, why is my heart racing? I'm like, what, am I physically going ding, ding, ding? So then it was a control thing. And then by singing every Sunday in front of thousands of people, and sometimes I just do a solo song, like with a backing track in front of 2,000 people, 2,000 people every Sunday. So that it is like a little.
And you
training.
realize, like most of the population, the very thought of that, they would rather suffer a grisly death, like have shark chewing them to pieces, than to attempt that.
Well, it was just...
Most people find any kind of public speaking, let alone, you're not just speaking, you're singing. It requires talent, yet.
I'm a storyteller, whatever I do.
Most people don't want to do that. That's insanely frightening to them.
Well, thank you, but it's just... It just
went... See, I relate to you in that, where that doesn't make sense, because from your perspective, you're like, when do I get to sing next? When do I get to be on stage next? And like, it's a drive, and I relate to that, but I notice that a lot of people, most people don't.
No.
And I find that interesting.
Well, that's why not all of us can be entertainers. I'm outside the 9 to 5, and I'm not.
Right,
I'm the ultimate observer. I'm looking at all the system. This.
Right.
I mean, think about it like this. Most people get up and they go into a square train or bus, and at the end they walk out, and there's that big another square building going upwards like the train, and then they look into the square windows of that square building, and there's all these square cubicles with all people sitting in front of square screens, clicking on square panels with little square buttons, and open up yellow folders that open up square Word documents or PDFs, and it's all squared out. So Austin was saying, "Oh, don't be a square man."
They're a square going from one square to another. Yeah, so you are the circle man. Tell us a little about that. What is the Circle Man?
All these fun characters. If you want to look at what I do.
Because that's an original character that you created, right? Circle Man?
Yes, that's just me, basically.
But it's also an idea. It's a concept.
Well, it's a philosophy that we all are circle man, and even women, circle women, whatever. We're all part of the whole circle. Like, we live on a big circle, and the circle man's here to remind us all of what we have in common rather than all the things we don't. And that's why I was going back to the semantics. It's
also no sharp edges, I notice.
We're all just, look, we got something in common. It's all H2O, okay? Can we agree on that? It's like,
Right.
So I'm a unifier, and I like to make people through whatever I do, whether I'm singing a story or, creating a story with a character, I like to make people go away and think, I never thought about it like that before. So that's one of my brands. I like to awaken people and get them out of their comfort zone or make them think, wow, or, oh shit, maybe I could, be that way or consider that way and become more tolerable. And
Did you just say shit?
Shit, yes.
That's totally okay.
That's good. That's mild for
actually labeled
for media
explicit,
today. That's
so.
mild. I could even say that. I could say that on Ellen or something. That'd be all right, wouldn't it? Well, shit.
Right. Well, they just bleep it out.
I mean, we're all shit, don't we? Even the Queen shits, Isn't
Life's a piece of shit when you think of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Always look on the bright side of life.
Right, as you're hanging from a cross being crucified.
I can't get that too with the with the Christians when they wear the cross. I think that's like the electric chair of that day. Like, that's pretty morbid. You're hanging that around your neck.
I think
that was the capital punishment that day was crucifixion.
Right.
Like, it's like walking around with an electric chair. Look,
exactly. I think Robin Williams had a great joke about that, or was it maybe George Carlin? I think it was Carlin. Where it's like, all right, imagine being Jesus and he comes back and he's looking around and everyone's wearing something that reminds him of how he died a grisly, torturous death.
Morbid,
it's like, and then what would Jesus do then, right?
I mean, I think Jesus, I've never met him, but but I think would be way cool, but he wouldn't be organized religions and, like you said.
I think he's been used by a lot of different people for their own purposes that have.
That's another whole subject. That'll be another radio program.
Well, let's get back because we're still in Australia for a sec here.
Okay.
You were singing to a level of talent that caught the eye of some Australian talent television shows, correct?
Well, before, that's how old I am. Anyway, before there was, Big Brother and The Voice and all that, there was shows in Australia called Potluck, and I was a 2-time winner of that back in the day. It was a similar, I think there's footage on my YouTube channel, some old classic, because I've been around.
And also New Faces too, right?
New Faces was another show, yeah. So I sang on there.
It's kind of like an American Idol or The Voice type of thing.
I think I sang a gospel song on one of them. That was cool. But what happened, I started going on the Bert Newton show, which is like equivalent to David Letterman.
What show?
Bert Newton. He's our sort of David Letterman type character.
Okay.
Or Carlson,
Late night TV type thing.
Yeah, sort of one of those sort of guys. He's like the big uncle, like Betty White or something, but a guy. And he's always had these Today shows and Tonight shows. And so I got invited to sing on there, first of all. And so it was national television, so I flew over from Adelaide to Melbourne and did a live performance, and I had to sing because it was Salvation Army Day, so they got me to come and sing.
What's Salvation Army Day?
Well, the Salvation Army, they would have like, the Salvation Army Church, but they'd have the Salvation Armies like the Goodwill stores too, and they'd, Salvation Army go and help people like the Goodwill. So, So it was, they had the sort of a special.
I didn't realize they had a day though.
Sorry?
I didn't realize they had a day.
There was a day. But yeah, they basically had a celebration on television, and I came in because I was a gospel singer in those days. But then they said to me, "We really love your voice, but can you sing ordinary stuff?" And I said, "Yeah, well, yeah." But then my church said, "You only should do gospel."
Non-gospel.
It was like, and that's
you're
when
going to the secular side.
Well, that's when I started leaving from all that crap, and I transitioned to that, and I actually went into the fashion industry. I mean, I was in the building industry with my dad at the start, and then I worked for Fairmont Homes, and I owned my own home by the time I was 21 in Adelaide, and just worked in the building industry. But then I couldn't do that. My dad then wanted me, when he reopened his company, and said, "I want you now to come and work for me." And I thought, no, I couldn't do that. So I did for a while, but I then got really bored, and I had to go to my father and said, "Look, I'm sorry, I don't want to take over your company, and I'm going to start a fashion company." So I did that and had a fashion company in Adelaide, and so I was doing fashion first. So I've got a very visual eye as well.
Yeah.
So I did
clothing and accessories.
Clothing. It was called Glowtex. I had
what?
Glowtex, and the clothes. Some of them used to actually glow in the dark.
Oh, nice.
Like back in the 80s, it was fabulous.
Oh yeah.
The Glowtex, the nightlight. There was a TV ad out there somewhere on there of them. But anyway, I did that, but then I left there, and I started a health retreat in Adelaide, which is still running today, called Authenticity in South Australia.
Nice.
And I was the co-founder with Gregory Damascus, who's still running it. He's a naturopath and psychotherapist. So we'd have, a whole lot of people go down there, and it's been going for 20 years, and we grow a lot of the vegetables on the property. So
fantastic.
There's another side of me, even though I'm not religious.
The horticulturist.
I'm very spiritual. I do yoga, I meditate, doing all these funny characters. I have to realign myself back to me and, and being still and knowing shit, and you get, inspiration by being still and listening and going within yourself. And so I do that all the time as well. So I had this sort of awakening from all organized religion into more esoterical and more spiritual and more, new age, call it whatever. I don't even like all those titles, but you know what I mean? I was a little bit more beyond the...
Not entirely, but I have a sense.
Yeah, beyond that. So I then got into the health industry.
I'm like Mulder on the X-Files. I want to believe. I was sold a bill of goods pretty bad as a child, and when I finally dared to ask a question, I had a second question and a third question, and now it's just like I have too many questions. Whenever anyone presents something to me, I'm like,
well, that's good. That question.
Interesting idea. And then I ask these questions, and more often than not,
you're a skeptic, which is a healthy thing.
I become Socrates because I could see in their eyes they want to find the hemlock and they want to personally administer it. So it's I'm like, okay, it's like, pitch me whatever your thing is, but I'm pretty sure you're going to hate me with the questions I have
right,
for
because
you.
And I was the same. When I studied theology, I almost got excommunicated. I have a diploma in theology.
Do you?
I studied for 2 years like a monk. And
in Australia?
Well, I was the gospel singing and all that too. But I don't, I...
Was that in Australia?
In South Australia.
Okay.
And the Adelaide Bible College. And I was, we also learned things about, counselling and all this sort of stuff. But I basically left the church, and we won't talk anymore about it. I don't believe in all that now. I don't believe in organised religions. And, basically... a lot of them are hypocrites. The money they all get from everybody belongs to the fatherless and the widows. And if you are going to follow that game, they will say, well, it's all in that book. And that book says, bring 10% into the community centre. If you're a hairdresser or whatever, go and cut hair for the kids or whatever, or if you grow grain or whatever, you bring wheat for, and it belongs to the fatherless and the widows. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all it says in there. I'm a theologian. Yeah. So I said that, and that's the reason why I walked out. I said, you're hypocrites. All this money doesn't go. It goes to your cars, goes to your house payment, goes to this big building. Just meet in your homes, like goes to your circle of friends.
So the preacher's kid can go to a Hanson concert.
All these big mass churches and all the money and all that, you meet in your own home and you're with your friends. Your friends is your circle of, that's your church.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you just teach the kids like the tribes used to, the art of living. But all this... crap stuff and, getting all the money. And, it doesn't even... And there's lots of fatherless and widows out there. And there's a reason why. That's why there's all this crazy shit out there, because there's fatherless and widows.
I coined the word hero tier a few years ago, and it came out of my own struggles with homelessness. And then when I came back here 3 years ago from Vegas to Hollywood, and I noticed the huge discrepancy between these brand new, shiny, monstrous luxury apartment towers that apparently have a lot of vacancies to this day. Throwing these huge shadows over, these brand new growing homeless, not just a few homeless people, homeless like tent cities.
Exactly.
I'm like, what's going on? So a week ago, I started noticing all these posts from my friend Venka, who I used to work with back in the mortgage days. She's up in Northern California. And I'm wondering, where's all the folks in the mortgage industry or the real estate industry, coming to her aid? And I know of she was in Danville, and I've gone to churches in Danville, the Catholic church that I was, I'm still in their
so
books.
You're Catholic too.
Saint
How's
Isidore.
your guilt going?
Yeah, there's all these churches, and it's like Venka's literally like sleeping in her car right now when she can't get. So I've been trying to advocate for her GoFundMe, but I'm sitting here scratching my head thinking, there's all these people that think they're good people because they quote go to church. But what they're actually doing is they're giving money. So, like I said, the preacher's kid can go to a Hanson concert, and the preacher's family have vacation homes and stuff. Meanwhile, Venka, a human being who had a stroke 2 years ago and just found out and got the medical, diagnosis a week ago, she's going to be sleeping in her car tonight if she doesn't qualify for the
Well,
emergency.
so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She's, it's the fatherless, widows, and homeless. The money should go, but then you don't get all crime and stuff because their needs are met. Why would you steal if you got you help them out and you help them not just with feed a man a fish, but teaching them some life skills
or you have people
teaching them that they're
have
worthy.
medical conditions that cause them to do things. I finally started watching Peaky Blinders. I don't know if you've ever seen it on Netflix, but it's about this I believe it's Irish gang back in like the 1920s or earlier, and it was right after World War War I. So it's all these guys that are war veterans in their 20s, and one of them is just got severe, what we recognize today as post-traumatic stress disorder. Back then, it's just he's a crazy guy.
I know.
So he would literally go into these fits. So he goes in one of these fits, accidentally kills some Italian shopkeeper. So it becomes this Irish gang versus Italian gang thing. And that's basically how they get him into, he becomes a made guy that's owned by Peaky Blinders because they work something out. But it's, that's the kind of thing, or if religious organizations were actually true to the words they claim, you'd be helping these people instead of
forget all these big buildings.
Instead of they're made vulnerable, and it's like whoever can prey on them and then use them for their own purposes because of their weaknesses.
They get the tax-free money.
That's another thing, and nobody looks at it and says, "Hey, you know what? As a taxpayer, this institution is getting all these benefits. How do I hold them to account?" No one even thinks of that.
And don't you also get like
it's like you hold your legislators to account, you hold your president to account, you hold your Supreme Court to account, but you don't hold these churches that have these tax breaks to account.
I'm not saying all these organizations are. Some of them have good intentions.
I mean, charities, the same thing. You see charities where people have like 6-figure incomes, and they got vacation homes and stuff. Like, how are they helping?
Well, at the end of the day, there's 25,000 people downtown in LA, right? And that breaks my heart. I saw that for the first time. I've been here for 8 years, but I've never actually driven. And my Lyft guy, Lyft or Uber it was, I had to go around a certain. Oh my God, is this it? I've never really seen it. I didn't even know where it really was. And it was like another world.
Now it's everywhere.
It's like another world. It's like a Mad Max movie or something. You're going like in that, or what's that? New Jack City, or that other movie, Escape from New York, and they're all
right,
and all the crazies in the center there, all the people that were the misfits.
All these fires of climate change.
I'm not saying they're all crazy people. What I'm trying to say is
getting closer to that.
They're the misfit people, and they don't fit into the system. And unfortunately, the education system, the one-size-fits-all cookie cutter, implies that you're not acceptable, you're not lovable, you're not valuable, you're not worthy. This creates a belief system like your settings in your phone, in your default settings. And it's archived in our subconscious. So through the law of attraction, they go around, unfortunately, and attract things that are in alignment with that belief system. So that's why we have to change these underlining. It's all about education. It's all about teaching kids self-actualization and teaching them to love themselves and value themselves and that they're worthy. And then the universe will respond to that. But if you don't think that, you're just attracting all this negative crap.
You've clearly thought that because you've created some wonderful characters. You've got celebrity characters that you do, but you also have original characters. So tell us a little bit about your celebrity characters.
Well, mate, I'm a puppet basically with these characters.
Austin Flowers, what's his deal?
Well, Austin's like, baby, oh baby, hey baby, oh do I make you horny, baby? Right. So I become Austin like a big kid, and and I might be Dame Edna, which is hello possums. Oh, isn't it spooky, dear?
Dame Edna Average.
It's average because the real one's Dame Edna Average, and I'm Dame Edna Average. But the real one used to be 150 grand to do what I do. But right. That's why I'm average. My price is cheaper. But I do the Queen of England, and I do Mr. Vindaloo, and I do all these characters. But Mark, they're like a puppet. What
about the Queen? Because Ollie was asking me.
Well, the Queen. Well, it's fun doing her because she's like. Because I do have all this sort of...
you didn't actually bring a tiara, did you?
No, I did not a tiara. I was actually looking for my water.
Do you even need
there's my water. Because
the tiara.
Well, I got to wet my whistle, as they say, if I'm going to do certain characters sometimes. But, I've been talking a lot. So I've been talking like a two-bob watch, we'd say in Australia. A two-bob is like...
It is a podcast. If we just sat here silently, people would, they'd be like... What's going on? Is there some sort of Andy Kaufman type of...
Well, getting back to Dame Edna, she's like a Mrs. Doubtfire, for those who don't know. You can Google Dame Edna. She's,
let's
she's quite famous.
More about Dame Edna.
Well, Dame's got the purple hair and the glasses, and she's a bit like your Mrs. Doubtfire, oh, he's not yard taped yet, that kind of thing. But
Right.
Dame Edna's more, hello, possums, isn't it spooky being here? And she's like Austin too. She's a big kid and cheeky and states the obvious in the room, and that's what we do as comedians. And the Queen's the same.
Can I talk to some of your characters here for a minute here, so we can kind of get a little?
It's basically me, but I'm using the character that people are familiar with. Like, they go, oh my God, there's Austin, or there's the Queen,
Right.
and it's like a puppet. I can blame it all on the puppet. You can't say that. Oh, what did I say? People, you can, but it's really your hand.
What would you like to say, Dame Edna?
Oh well, it's very spooky being here in Los Angeles. Keep calm and carry on, possums. Isn't it spooky being in here with you, Mark? It's very titillating in here. So she's a character, but all my characters when I do these corporate gigs, because I do a lot of corporate entertainment and high-end private parties. I don't do pubs and clubs, and so I get where the money is really too, is with the high-end people. So I'll host an event, but they're like the court jester. They're in the game. They're in the pack, but not on the game. You know what I mean? So the Joker doesn't play in the game, does he? He's just in the pack.
Right.
So I'm the one who can state the obvious, and I can make fun of the king without getting my head chopped off type thing. So the new kings are these CEOs, and they want to have a roast and all that. So I go and host an event.
You do play a queen, though. Can we hear a little something from Queen Elizabeth? How does Queen Elizabeth feel about being here in the colonies?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Queen Elizabeth, the original Queen Bee. In these trying times, one needs to be more patient and kind.
So, I can even use the
I
character.
can take that advice from a royal even. That's fair,
she does that Christmas message everywhere and every year.
Right. That's right.
And, you listen to her wise words. So,
do they have Boxing Day in Australia?
Yeah.
I'm asking for Ollie.
But anyway, going back, because I've got like underneath, I'm a bit of a teacher. I like to make.
When is Boxing Day in Australia? Is it also the day after?
Oh, I don't know when
the
it
day
is.
after Christmas.
Google it.
Okay. Have the help look it up.
I don't know when it is. I don't know when it is. We have a Boxing Day too. Like, but anyway.
How about Steve Irwiner? Can we hear a little something from Steve?
I got to do him next year for one of the schools here. Sometimes I go here in Los Angeles. I've done a Montessori school, and I go as Steve Irwin and dress up and educate kids about Australia.
Yeah.
He's all just like
tell us something about Australia, Steve.
Oh, crikey, mate! Oh, it's so beautiful. Gone are the days where the camera used to be way over there filming the animal kingdom. I want to bring you right up close, get close and personal with an animal, because
is that a good idea, Steve?
People want to care about things they love. So, if I can get you to love a dolphin and see a dolphin, you want to care for that dolphin.
All right. Well, what if Steve? What if my 4-year-old loves crocodiles?
Well, he used to love crocodiles too. But anyway, so he's just a fun. All my characters are just like big kids.
What about the Mad Hatter?
Oh, but only if you believe. I mean, it goes into that character too. But he's just like basic with all these characters. Let me tell you what it is. It's like it gives me an opportunity to be able to. Like I said, it's like a puppet, and people familiar with. Oh my God, there's Austin, or there's the Queen, and they all act. They play along with how they would act in front of the Queen or Austin. You know what I mean? But it's also a way for me to state the obvious in the room. It could be about current affairs or going on at the moment or whatever. And as an MC, I like to free people from concern. Say, hey, come out. It's school's out. You can come unzip, and I like to give people the license to do the same. So. This is why I like doing my characters, even though I get paid for emceeing, but I sing as well in the characters. But my core thing is I like to, bring people together, unify people, have a bit of fun, and I like to state the obvious, because I'd read people. I've traveled around the world, and as a comedian.
You're also great at improv. That's something it's a very fluid, it's like jazz with you. I really appreciate that.
Because I'm comfortable in my own skin, and I've seen a lot, and I've heard a lot, and I've been around a bit.
You create this experience for people.
Well, there's always like a gag or a file and I've gone into so many different worlds doing what I do, because I don't do the pubs and clubs. Remember, I go into people's homes. I go into somebody's weird. I might go to a party where it's all people dressed in leather. It's all that weird shit. And then I might go to the ladies, little lunch and sandwiches as the Queen. And then I'm going down with the kids, educating them about Australia and showing them a video about Aussies and kangaroos and the next thing I'm Shirley Shagwell as a drag queen, which is the hybrid of all the women in my life. And
and then Shirley's an original character of yours.
Yes, just like my Mr. Vindaloo, my Hollywood Bollywood character. He's funny too, because he's a little bit like the guru. So all these characters come out with the wisdom that I like to impart, because underneath I'm a bit of a teacher. I like to tell stories and remind people, like the tribes used to do. They didn't have religions. They told stories to teach how to live, all the Native Americans and
that's most
Africans.
of human history is a storytelling culture.
And they had psalms and songs and, which are jingles to remind you about the art of living, So, and that's what
which we still enjoy to this
today.
day. You look at how much people, love and now miss, Stan Lee. And it's because of these wonderful characters, these stories that he created. And
well, we're all storytellers. You're a storyteller, but it's all about what content you're giving to people, because that's what it's going to align your story up to. My God, that's what I'm going through. And they, that's why songs, sometimes everybody loves that song because they're relating, because they're going through that.
Right. It's a shared experience.
Exactly. So when you're an artist, if you want to be a star, just be yourself. Be authentic, like the name of the health retreat I pioneered.
Yeah,
but
it's all about
you're
pissing me off.
You're pissing me off.
That's a character that you do. I didn't mean. I wasn't making a comment.
You're pissing me off. In my business, sometimes I get agents saying, "Oh, they're doing a Russian thing. Can you do a Russian?" So I created, even Shirley Shagwell was created out of someone that didn't turn up as a drag queen. They knew I did Dame Edna, because I did Dame Edna first.
Right.
And I used to do Sydney by Diva, which is like a spoof on Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. And I'd be dressed in my character Shirley, with big lips on the bus, and take people around tours of Sydney and show them the Opera House, the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and I'd sing on board and take them down to the Opera House, and I'd be singing in the toilets with the echo. So I sang in the Opera House, but in the toilets, and I'd be like, and Shirley's singing away, and all these people go, "Oh, we love you, Shirley,"
Right.
And they'd have all wigs on, because they'd have all different colour wigs on there. And different individual wigs that everybody had, and they all got a drag name. That was funny. I did that for about 4 years. It was called Sydney by Diva. You can Google it. And it was
Sydney by Diva.
It was like a diva queen giving people a tour of Sydney. I had a lot of Americans come over for gay pride and stuff. That was funny. But
now, if this is not too personal a question, because this is something that I kind of relate to with my Lieutenant Frank character, and I think I might know what the answer is. Well, let's find out. You dress and drag for these characters. Some people cross-dress as a lifestyle. Is that part of your lifestyle, or is it strictly what you do as characters?
Well, it's like Mrs. Doubtfire. It's like John Travolta and Hairspray. It's like Tootsie, and I actually worked with Dustin Hoffman, and I said, "Oh, you're one of the reasons why, I dress in 3 female characters, because I don't care, because you set the path." And I thought, wow, I could.
Everyone in Monty Python.
Well, Dustin Hoffman, he really liked that, because I was just, the synchronicity of me working with him on the set, and I just had that moment.
What was that like?
It was good, but he really loved
Luck?
it.
Was that?
Luck, yes. It was a TV show that was on. I was just doing I was walking along the same scene with him, over and over and over, and we'd always end up at in the front of the reception of the building, and cut. There'd be the reception bench there, and we'd both be leaning on there waiting for them, and we were just chatting away, and I was talking, well, you inspired me to dress in female characters, because if those who don't know, those
so it was
young
Dustin.
millennials out there, look at the movie Tootsie.
Yeah.
He just dressed up and dragged too, but Robin Williams has, a lot of people think I'm like Robin Williams, by the way. I've had thousands of people go, "Oh my God, you remind me of Robin Williams." But
you've channeled his voice a few times. I've noticed
have I?
that. Yeah, without you even realizing.
I don't even know.
Yeah,
but
earlier, I'm sure someone probably noticed
I think
that
something
listening.
happened to me that night when he died. I remember
you do have a little bit of his manic energy, I gotta say.
Well, he was my favorite person in the whole wide world, and I was in alignment with him as well, in the same kind of vibe, frequency type thing, and that was amazing. But anyway, there's so many stories, mate. I'm like, I could go on for hours. It's like the viewers at home are going, well, I think I've lost track somewhere along the way.
That's why you can always pause the podcast,
No,
and
but
then
it's
you can
so
go
good.
back to the beginning and see if there's anything
Well, you can mix it all up.
that you miss. Now, I'd be remiss because you're on a podcast, but there's other podcasts you've been on. Jimmy Kimmel has a podcast. With Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Yeah, well, he didn't have a podcast. I was actually on his show.
My Lieutenant Frank likes to refer to his production as a podcast. So
I see it now again. I thought you were saying on top of his show you had one a podcast, but I thought, well, why would he need a podcast for? Like,
I think it's Lieutenant Frank's way of kind of.
You just think he's a bit crappy,
throwing some heavy shade on Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, you either like him or you don't.
But you were Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, I came out and I got a huge laugh,
On Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the Queen. And he had, what was the guy with the hair? The King, Don King. on as well. And he went, it's the king and the queen. You know, like it was a bit, and everybody laughed, and it was a bit of fun. But anyway, yeah. So it's nice to be. I was on the Gong Show too last year. That was fun as the Queen. I knighted
Royal Pains too. I understand.
I knighted Mike Myers. The irony.
Mike Myers was on the Gong Show.
Well, he's the host. He's called Tommy Maitland.
Oh, is he?
His
now?
new
Okay.
character. He even fooled me the first few episodes. Who's
No
this new
kidding.
English guy?
I had no idea.
It's a remake of the old 70s show,
Yeah,
The Gong
yeah.
Show, and because he's got the picture of the Queen on there all the time next to his drink, I came out as the Queen
That's
and
hilarious.
did my little skit, and then I said,
Would you like me to knight you, Tommy?
He went, oh yes, and he's all dressed, and so I said,
Well, on your knees.
and then and then
I said, oh, you remind me of one of my corgis out there, dear.
and it was just the irony of life, because I've been doing Austin Powers for 20 years.
You
and
knighted Austin.
Yeah, he's now Sir Tommy Maitland because of me. But I said to my producer who was looking after me, I said,
Not everyone
does
can
he
say that. That's
does he
awesome.
know that I've been doing Austin for 20 years?
Yeah,
You know, like the
that's
irony of
hilarious.
life. Like you're kneeling before me as a fictitious character, and I'm a
Yeah.
fictitious queen with a fictitious title, Sir Tommy Maitland.
Right.
It was just one of those little funny moments in life, and his little blue content. He had fake blue eyes. Mike Myers was kneeling down looking at me as the Queen. It was just like, oh, if you only knew, I've made lots
Right.
of money out of your character. Who's the Queen?
Do you find doing all these different characters that at a certain point it kind of it's less about the character that you're doing and it's more about your audience and whatever character you might be performing or whatever as you're emceeing, however you're interacting with them. It's more about what you're drawing out of them,
Yeah, I like
which
to
kind of
unzip people.
reveals who they are.
I like to unzip people,
Right.
especially Australians. A lot of you Americans have said to me, "Oh, you Aussies, you don't have any filters." And I go, "Why? Are we dirty water? Do we need a filter?" And they go, but we just say that we're like big kids,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all these characters that I choose, I'm still looking at you as
Mm-hmm.
me, even though I'm Dame Edna, because these characters, there's a little bit of Dame in me, there's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
of Austin, there's a little bit of Queen, So I basically, I align myself, but I use it again like the puppet to create people and to help
Right.
people unzip and say, come out and play. School's out. There's a big party here, and at the end of the night, everyone's all like, "Yeah, we love you, Austin." And they're all stiff at the start with their champagne, and at the end, they're all like, "We love you, Austin."
I really relate to that because it's been interesting my experience doing the Lieutenant Frank character. Because it really, to me, it was just like a matter of fact. It was like math. When someone said, "Well, you look like this guy," and the second I just accepted that and said, "I'm going to do this character," then I'm like, "Well, he wears short shorts. I'm going to wear short shorts." And I'm like, "Okay, how do I kind of push the envelope to kind of create my own version?" And he had the boots. I created these like fluffy things when I was Vegas to kind of compensate for the
you have a
boots.
cheeky ass, so you do get
But
people looking
then-
at your ass. That's like, well, there it is.
I've heard that from all different sexual persuasions.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
it's a pretty
You're a man, and
consistent-
you're a man in sort of like butch,
it is what it is,
butch
right?
sort of loose hot pants.
But it's been interesting because I've taken a lot of flack. I've taken a lot of hate from
course.
people that think
That you're gay, yeah.
Yeah. And it's a weird thing to like feel all that hatred coming at you. And on the
know.
one hand, you're going, I'm not who you think I am. But
Exactly.
the second you think that, the very next thought is, but I really don't want you to direct all this hate to anyone else.
know.
So I'm a little grateful. It's like, all right, well, at least there's like one less, incidents of hate that's going to happen.
We've got to stop hate.
We've
got to stop hate and becoming more tolerable and become broad-minded. Don't be like dial up in your head.
What's next for you and your characters here for making the world a better place?
Well, yeah, I'm doing a charity event on Friday for Remax, the real estate people.
Yeah.
They do a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital. It's my third year doing it now. I did
Oh, fantastic.
Austin,
All right.
then I did the Queen, and now this year I'm doing Dame Edna, so I get the money out of all the rich people.
Oh, he looks
Good
like he's
for
got lots
you.
of... he's got
Someone's got to do
lots of
it.
money, doesn't he, everybody?
I pick on all the rich people and get all the money out of them. I love it. But anyway.
Well done, you.
So, and then I'm off to Australia on the 27th, and I'm
you
doing
are? Okay.
some gigs in Sydney and touring around a bit. And
Home for the holidays?
Going to see parents, and then
They're still in Adelaide?
I'm chilling out up in my sister's house in Queensland, near Redcliffe, and I'm just looking after the dogs and having my me time. She's got a huge wildlife park thing across the road, which is like feel like you're in the forest somewhere.
Right.
So it's just there, and it's so good. And she's got the pool and the spa bath with Bluetooth in it and all that stuff. So I'm just going to chillax, one of those holidays from the holidays.
Fantastic.
You know, when you go on holiday, sometimes you go, oh my God, we need a holiday from the holiday. You do one of those chillaxing ones and reading and just,
nice.
chilling out.
I think we did it, Jason. I think we covered a lot of the bases. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think it was good. I mean, there's probably a lot to digest out there, but...
that's why you can listen to it a second, a third, and a 27th time. It's the magic of
you can always have me
podcast.
back again later on. We could talk forever, you and I. We could talk with
Absolutely.
With marbles in our mouth underwater.
One of these days I'd like to do some panels. So you're definitely on the short list for
it's good to have
like
little
that.
conversations on things, because bringing up issues that people don't like to talk about too. As a performing artist, I like to be
It's
able
an
to,
opportunity.
there's a crisis in consciousness out there. So it's all about educating people, whether it's being racist or, just, you're not privileged to know the art of living and you haven't been taught, it's like downloading the right apps, like some people just haven't been taught the art of living and it's becoming extinct and common sense is now uncommon. So education is so important. That's what I'm
And if folks want to download some of your fantastic stuff, where do they go?
Well, you can just go to jasonthompson.net and on that homepage, you'll see all the links to my social media. That's JASON and then THOMPSON because only the best Thompson's P. SON.net, not .com. So.
And we'll have a link in the podcast post too.
Yeah, we like to be
it.
linked up. Link it up. We'll come back and talk about Circle Man. We asked me that and I didn't get
We'll
get
have
much
to do
into
that next time. Great to have you, Jason.
All right, man. Take care. Thank you, everybody.
Jason, before you leave, I know you've been performing and singing at the Cicada Club here in Los Angeles.
That's right.
Maybe you can take us out here in a nice tune or two.
Okay. Well, one of my favorites is I've Got You Under My Skin. Frank Sinatra. I've got you under my skin. I've got you deep in the heart of me. So deep in my heart. You're really a part of me. I've got you under my skin. Like that.
Love it.
This one of my is fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart. For it's hard you'll find to be narrow of mind if you're young at heart. There you go.
Jason Thompson, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on.
Cheers.
Jason Thompson, everyone. And he got a little singing bonus there at the end. That was kind of cool. He's definitely channeling some Robin Williams there, do you think? Hey, I like it, and I kind of relate to it. Show notes are at markromanempire.com. That's where you can get those links and other useful and delightful stuff mentioned during the podcast. Thanks to all our listeners across the globe. Sorry, my voice is almost completely gone here. But I see you, Anaheim, Vancouver, Arvine, New York, and Curitiba, Brazil on the SoundCloud. I see all you guys. And ladies, thanks for listening. Hey, Vanka still needs our help, and lots of it, okay? Be a hero tier. I mean, 7-Eleven has coffee, but you chose to go to Starbucks. It's only $5 to join the Vanka Hero Tier Honor Roll. Go to markromanempire.com, click Vanka. You can listen to the podcast on Mixcloud, Podbeam, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. There's even an Apple Music hack until we get into the store. markromanempire.com, click listen. Are you a citizen of my podcast? If not, you missed out on this week's contest. Join my mailing list, the Mark Roman Empire Census. Hey, sometimes we have special deals and perks for podcast citizens only. What kind? Well, whatever they may be, they are only available to podcast citizens. To become a podcast citizen, join the census. Go to markromanempire.com, click census. Twitter at @TheMarkRoman, Instagram at Vegas90210. Email me at the podcast at romanpodmail@gmail.com. Yeah, I think my voice is totally gone here, guys. Whatever that sick thing is going to be that always happens this time of year. I think that's happening here in the next week. I'm going to power through it. If you guys can help me out here with some of my swag, I'd really appreciate, because Daddy needs a sick day, okay? Until next week, how can you hero cheer for Vanka? Remember Clownolin and Prince St. Paul. I am
the Mark Roman.